Waiting for that live button to hit. And today, Jimi Sunderland can't make it here. She had an emergency, and she'll be back here next Friday. So we have, I guess you could say, a panel today. And today we have Bill Stodden, we have Stephanie Cholensky, and we have Josh Bradley, all from the Socialist Party USA. All three are well, two of them are current candidates. One's a candidate of the past, and I will let each and every one of them introduce themselves. I'll let you take it away first, Bill.
Audio problems, Bill.
Hello? Oh.
Again.
Oh, my. But, oh, my goodness. This is not, oh, my goodness.
Iowa doesn't have the internet that we're blessed with here in Raleigh.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Stephanie, how about you? I'll let you introduce yourself as he's trying to get his situation taken care of.
Sure. Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Like, you want like the whole spiel or just a quick intro? Sorry, you broke up there.
Introduce yourself and yeah.
Okay.
What?
Well, my name is Stephanie Cholensky. I've been a Socialist Party member since 2001, and I'm currently running on the Socialist Party USA ticket as vice president for the 2024 election.
Okay. All right. Josh.
Hey, everybody. My name's Josh Bradley. I have been a member of the Socialist Party since Mimi Siltisik and Angela Walker's campaign in 2016. It changed my life. I have run for city council here in Raleigh twice. In 2019, I managed to get 10% of the vote in District A, which is a pretty bougie district, so that's pretty good for a socialist. And then the last election, I got 18,000 votes for city council at large, and then hope to next year win a seat. And thank you for having me on your show during that time. It was great to talk to you then.
Okay, and I'm sorry about Bill's situation, having audio issues there. I'm trying to think what we can do for Bill.
He can call in, right?
This is an awkward situation.
Yeah, because we could
he's got my cell number. Maybe let's have him make a second attempt. Let him IM me on Facebook. I bet you the audio will work this time. Hold on a second. He's coming back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm adding him to the stage.
Good. Okay. Let's get out of that. All right.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Keeping those fingers crossed. Hey, Bill, can you hear us now?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Oh,
hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. I think I can hear you. Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
Introduce yourself.
Okay. Well, let me clear out some stuff here, but hopefully your viewers don't get seasick. I'm on my phone now, so I tend to have better luck with the internet if I'm using cellular data. But my computer just doesn't. My internet just is Mediacom, and so if you guys are out there and have any kind of influence over Mediacom, I encourage you to boycott Mediacom. That'll be a campaign position from now on. That internet sucks. But my name is Bill Stodden, running for president from the Socialist Party. I have a PhD in political science. I'm a veteran. Used to be in the Marine Corps before I went to school, and I'm a Quaker now. So I'm all about peace, and I'm all about equality and social justice. Take it away.
Okay, I think we're all on board here. All right. I know y'all just had a convention. You had a convention, and who was Dwight? Dwight Welch was the one that told me. I think it was Dwight Welch that told me about you both getting the nomination. So I had to go contact you both and wish you congratulations. So congratulations, and and I know that I've known you, Bill, since 2000. So
yep, mm-hmm.
And so it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And we've been in conventions together, a few conventions.
Yeah, I think so. 2000, maybe 2003. I'm sure you were at Chicago.
Yeah.
Maybe St. Louis. You at St. Louis? I think. Can you hear me?
Yes, it was in 2001 in I hear you. In Boulder, and 2003 in Chicago.
Yeah, we had 2000.
Boulder. That was my first SP event, actually.
Yeah, I've known Stephanie for almost that long. We did Transforming Columbus Day together as well.
Now?
So that was.
What's that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that we did Transforming Columbus Day together in Denver, 2002, for the 510th anniversary of the Christopher Columbus debacle. We had a massive protest. The Socialist Party had to organize a convention in Denver. That's where I first met Stephanie. But I'm sure that we probably ran into each other at Boulder if you were up there too.
Yeah. Let's see. And I'm no stranger to the Socialist Party too. So, I guess you could say I'm a fellow traveler these days, and all that. Independent socialist. But I'm glad to see independent politics starting to thrive again. It seems like in 2000, when George W. Bush stole that election, everybody got scared. And since then, everybody's gotten into the two-party camp, and I still think people are still unfortunately wedged into that camp. However, I think people are starting to question the two-party system now. I think that on the left, that the Democrats are incapable of transforming themselves into some kind of a labor party. Bernie Sanders cucking before Joe Biden, and the squad letting us down, and just seems to be and Joe Biden basically trying to imitate the foreign policy George W. Bush. People on the left are a little disgruntled finally, and they're like, we need an alternative. And so I thank y'all for providing that alternative.
Yeah, the Democrats, the way they referred to us, it's almost like what I call the Schrodinger's left, where we're so powerful that we're throwing elections, but we're also not powerful at all and have no influence. So which is it? Just we're a convenient scapegoat for whatever they want to say at that moment.
Mm. And that's also the Democrats have never. I think we have a little bit of a delay, Melvin, Willie. The Democrats, they have never really been a real alternative to the other capitalist party, the Republican Party, anyway. And so, consequently, when you tend to align yourself with the Democratic Party, you run into this problem where you end up backing imperialism, capitalism, environmental destruction, racism, sexism, and all these other things. Even if you're claim that you're trying to do good things or trying to help people, it ends up being that every single measure you take is a half step, and it doesn't do anyone any good except for people who are already in power and people that have money.
Exactly. Yeah. They're constantly picking neoliberalism over even progressivism. Their platform is not one of egalitarianism. They fund or they support austerity, police militarization, mass incarceration, imperialism, massive military spending, eliminating all our social safety nets, and brutalizing the undocumented, cutting taxes on corporations, and passing laws in favor of the wealthy. Like if you just look at their voting record, it's obvious that if we continue down this route, what we'll end up with is we'll have an openly fascist party and a party that capitulates to fascists, because that's what you get when you have the ratchet effect and you have no left to actually offer these solutions to the problems of capitalism.
What the ratchet effect I've heard about, and I've seen a video on it, and I agree. Yes.
And one thing to keep in mind is that
whoever.
Yeah, and the thing to keep in mind is the Democrats really see the left as a threat these days, and you can see that in North Carolina when the Democratic Party tried to keep the Green Party off the ballot. That none of the members, the Democratic members of the Board of Elections would agree to let them on the ballot, and the Green Party had to go to court in order to get it. North Carolina has a really Marxist Green Party, which isn't always the case, but it was enough of a threat to their campaign. It seemed like the Democrats spent as much money trying to keep the Greens off the ballot as if they had just put it behind their candidate, and they might have done better. I don't know, but not that I care what the Democrats do, because they are in opposition to the working people of this country.
Yeah, well, they did the same here in Minnesota, because in the last couple of years we've ran 3 candidates for office, and we got 3 candidates elected to office as Socialist Party members. And their reaction wasn't to, look at what we're doing, find out why our policies are so popular and why we have candidates that do so well, the system being set up to not allow them to win. Their reaction seems to just to make sure that third-party candidates cannot even get on the ballot. That's not democracy, and it shouldn't surprise one of us that's been doing this for a long time. But with Americans so disillusioned with their electoral system, you'd think they'd at least have a little bit of shame in trying to keep independent candidates off the ballot so openly.
Yes, and that's the thing. I think Bill's having. Are you having audio problems, Bill?
No, you and I have you and I have a delay. Your delay is about, I think, 15 to 20 seconds after someone stops talking.
Okay, all right. I have. It's been a while since I people on the same panel, so okay, that's probably what it is then. So
yeah,
okay.
I can hear Stephanie and Josh in real time, but you're delayed, I think.
That's my
Okay. Right.
view.
All right. Seems like I'm hearing a little bit of delay from everyone here too. So anyway, so I guess we have to remain diligent when it comes to fighting the two-party system and to not let anybody deter us and not to be seduced by a what we call an insurgent candidate in the Democratic Party. Because, on one hand, the Democratic establishment don't like it, but on the other hand, they find insurgent Democrats as useful because they can use that energy from people to kind of keep herd into the Democratic Party so they can sit there and ignore these people.
Yeah, and of course, you're familiar with the history of the Socialist Party forming from the Debs caucus, which was the more radical left of what was the Socialist Party of America. And one of the main reasons for the split was the Debs caucus did not want to work with Democrats. They wanted an independent socialist party. And that is one thing that distinguishes the Socialist Party, is that we're a grassroots, multi-tendency socialist party. We run independent socialist candidates. We want nothing to do with the Democrats. We don't, campaign for them. We know they're a capitalist party, and we know where those dead-end ideas lead.
And that's
Exactly.
another thing that we're actually trying to accomplish some things with this campaign, that are above and beyond just winning an office. I think this is really important that we noted. We're working on just an overall campaign strategy, and we came up with I know it's a long used slogan, but we came up with educate, agitate, and organize, because we need to educate people about what socialism is and how socialism can actually lead to a better future for workers, for the poor, for people who are marginalized in these different communities across our country, and as well for people around the world who the United States, practices imperialism and war against. So we need to educate people on that so that people have an understanding of what socialism is and why it's in all of our interests to support socialism. And then we need to agitate. We need to get people to understand and work together on these socialist projects, and so that they realize that the people are the ones that have the power. The working class are the ones that have the power at the workforce. Different communities are the ones who are going to liberate themselves. And it's not going to come from above. It's not going to come from some savior politician, but it's going to come from within the community itself. And the third thing is we need to organize. We need to build organizational structure for the Socialist Party and for socialism in general that can last beyond a particular candidate. We're not trying to create a cult of personality like something that would surround Bernie Sanders or AOC or someone like that. We're trying to create a structure where people themselves can continue the fight after the campaign is over. And I think that kind of tactical plan, educate, agitate, and organize, there's a reason why it's been around so long, is because it's a very useful scheme for action on the left. And I think that's one that we, as socialists, maybe even some leaning over into anarchists a little bit, or whatever, we can employ that strategy to get people active and get people organized in this country so that they can continue the fight long after we're finished this coming year.
It's really important to have that alternative for the elections. When I was helping with Joshua's campaign, just having us show up to the debates and the discussions and having people ask these politicians about I'd rather he speak to what he did, but about gentrification and stuff, it really changed the conversation and got them to at least speak to the problems their constituents, especially their working poor constituents, are actually facing.
Yeah, and if I may, and address what Sherry had said, that both parties are criminal organizations, and they're not only that, they're class enemies, right? They've been bought by the bourgeois, they've been bought by the owners and the bosses. It's important to understand that when we talk against Democrats, we're not necessarily talking to Joe Democrat on the street that is politically naive. We're talking about the people that control those parties. There's a lot of talk about, you know, and there's all this stuff that's going on in the chat that talks about like Zionist control of the parties, and you know what they say? They say that AIPAC is the NRA of the Democratic Party. You know, you can be not anti-Semitic, right? You and still understand that there have been more than 4,000 children killed in Gaza. Like, you can not hate on Jewish people, but still be critical of the Israeli regime that is run by the far right of that country, and are literally killing thousands and thousands and thousands of children. So yeah, it's important. I mean, obviously, the Socialist Party does calls for an immediate ceasefire at the very lowest bar that they could do it. But you know, I just wanted to address that too. Like the Democrats are kind of co-opted by big money, and then there's a lot of money going into it, and that's why the Democratic Party, as class traitory as it is tearing itself apart right now. They're out censuring their own politicians for standing up for their people. So like I don't know how people can look at that and say that's people that we're going to follow, because they can't even agree that over 4,000 dead children is a bad thing.
And I think it's really important to add on to what you're saying, Josh, to remember that it doesn't really take a letter from AIPAC to Joe Biden to get Joe Biden to do whatever AIPAC is asking them to do. The ideas between those two individuals are so close together that it's just sort of understood that this is what we're going to do. We're going to support Israel. We're going to support the war against the Gazan people, because our politicians understand that war in the same terms as the government of Israel understands it, at the same terms as the AIPAC understands it, in that these people are less than, you know, it's okay to bomb them. We're going to fight terrorists or whatever they're going to say about Hamas. And they're going to bomb schools, houses, you know, churches, mosques, hospitals. They're going to bomb it into oblivion, because our government thinks of those people in Gaza the same way the Israeli government does. So it doesn't even require AIPAC to get on the phone with Biden to tell him what to do. He already sort of knows what to do. And this is also going back to the 50s, where our government would do the bidding of United Fruit in Latin America, not because United Fruit had our government on speed dial, but because John Foster Dulles, for example, was the lawyer for United Fruit before he went and became, you know, the head of the State Department of the United States. And so the ideas are they are current in that class of people that are running our government. Is the same class of people that are running the Israeli government, and the same class of people that are running basically every government and hurting working and poor people across the entire world.
Yeah, the U.S. military.
Go ahead. Sorry.
So the U.S. military has always defended the interest of the owning class. When they say American interests, that's what they mean. They're not talking about us. They're talking about the 1%, the very wealthy. And it's like Deb said, it's the owning classes, the working class that dies in the war. It's the working class that suffers from the war. And these conflicts, they might seem really far away, but they have their effects on us as well. Just with Israel training our the idea of training our police, and all this military surplus leading to our police being militarized, and to the point where we almost have a standing army now of police force in the U.S. And of course, our foreign policy, as Bill is an expert on, it is what is leading to these crises and mass migration and even climate change. The U.S. military is one of the biggest contributors to climate change.
Yeah, and can I say also that when we send the police to train in Israel, we're sending them to a police force that's the IDF, which is designed to oppress people and hold people down and not to make things safer for the general populace, right? We're sending our cops overseas to learn the techniques of holding down poor and oppressed people. So, I mean, that needs to stop. The city of Durham passed a law or passed a resolution that they would not send their cops over to train with the IDF, and I think that more cities should follow that.
You know, this is the same thing that we were fighting against about 20 years ago when we were talking about the School of the Americas, how we would have these police forces or auxiliary forces come to the United States, and instead of learning local defense like they were supposed to, they were learning counterterrorism, they were learning anti-narco patrolling and stuff like that, and they were also learning anti-leftist guerrilla tactics from the United States government, from our CIA, from our special forces and that kind of stuff. And then we were sending those people back down to Latin America in Africa, and they were using those tactics against people who were fighting for liberation against right-wing brutal military dictatorships. The training between the United States government and brutal dictatorships, or what do you say, one of illegitimate or authoritarian states, however you wanted to say that, you know, you could include Israel in that because they obviously are using force to brutally crush a group of people and conduct genocide against the people of Gaza. You know, that training and that relationship is decades long. And we've been protesting that in the Socialist Party for at least as long as I've been with the Socialist Party, and probably longer. And it just has taken another form now that we have this brand new conflict that we are, that we're starting to address here in the United States. Have we lost Willie?
I don't think so. Well, one thing I is
just
that
waiting.
Go ahead. It's really great to have this conversation, and this is something that happens a lot in the Socialist Party because we're a local-based multi-tendency party. So, like, I guess I would probably be the closest thing you could get as like a party person in the SP. I've been in the SP for so long. I've been in leadership so long. I think I've served as co-chair for longer than anyone. I've probably been part of more campaigns than anyone. But I mean, I'm not a politician by trade. I'm a scientist. I work at the University of Minnesota doing research. I'm a volunteer. I've never paid a dime for anything I've done with the party. And we attract so many different viewpoints that all coalesce around this wonderful statement of principles. If you haven't read it, I definitely suggest checking it out. And if you agree, I definitely suggest joining and possibly thinking about helping the campaign. Because these campaigns are the main way we build the party. But that is why I've stuck with the Socialist Party for so long, is that multi-tendency nature and just the dedication to democracy. Like Joshua actually came up with the idea. Was it you that came up with the campaign collective?
I think I had the first one.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he made a new way to run campaigns, which is really impressive. And I think that's what you get when you have a diverse group of people that believes in the same thing, often for different reasons. Like Bill obviously has a lot more religious background than I do. I'm very secular and atheist. We both have the same views on peace and service and humanitarianism, because ultimately, when you get down to it, our philosophy is the same, even if we don't justify it the same way.
Yes, and that's the important thing about the multi-tendency aspect, because it's good to have a multi-tendency structure where you can live with some nuance and differences, because there's a lot of disunity on the left, and we have to kind of learn that we're not all 100% the same and on everything, on every issue. So sometimes there's a little bit of nuance or what have you, and traditions that we come, like you said, Stephanie, you come from more of a secular tradition, and I know that Bill and Josh are more, they're more spiritual or theological position, kind of like Dwight Welsh when he was in the party too. Um, there's that aspect of it, and fighting for, and we have to do this without the two-party system, because they just gives more war, more corporate abuse, more culture war bullshit, and provide nothing for our people in this country, and provide nothing for the people in the world.
And that's right. I think that that's one of the strengths of the Socialist Party, and that may be one of the strengths that the Socialist Party has over other parties, as well, as that we do have a lot of different places where the people who join our party come from, and we all bring our talents and energy. And I think that probably one of the best ways that I think of the Socialist Party is everyone has a role in the revolution. We all got to do what we can. And we bring the talents and energy that we have, from each according to his or her ability, to each according to his or her need, and we bring that into the Socialist Party, and we all work together. I think for the strategic and the long-term aims of the Socialist Party as stated in our principles. And I think that's a pretty good way to see the party.
I think many of us here joined because of a presidential campaign. One of the first experiences I had with the party was the McReynolds campaign. And I was very fortunate to be, I was part of the Soltisic campaign. I also got to serve as co-chair with Mimi. And honestly, if we could pull off a campaign like Mimi's, I would be incredibly happy. But that's a very high bar. But these campaigns do bring people together, and they do, I think more than anything else, they get our message to an audience that otherwise wouldn't hear it.
That's the importance of a presidential campaign, especially one like the Socialist Party, to provide a democratic socialist alternative to the two capitalists, the capitalist duopoly that exists out there, because especially since Bill Clinton took over the Democratic Party through the Democratic leadership in the 1990s. I've seen the Democratic Party just turn into a swamp, just a pile of shit, and the Democratic Party was always shit. I just didn't realize it at the time, but the thing about it is that we need to provide, even not winning campaigns, the fact that we're kind of planning, because I mean, honestly, when you think about what is good about the United States, basic Social Security, that's a socialist idea. It's a good idea. I mean, even some Trump supporters out there who are elderly would never want to give up their Social Security check. I mean, they would be pissed off if that happened. And you know what? That was an idea that was introduced by the Socialist Party. The 8-hour workday. A lot of these things, workplace safety. A lot of the reforms that happened under the New Deal didn't go far enough, and by no means it's not like the New Deal came here, the Great Society came here in the 60s, everything was solved. By no means it went. That was like perfection. We needed to go well beyond that. But the purpose of the Socialist Party campaign is to introduce ideas to eventually co-opt into our society to make our society better.
And one thing I want to say about that, Willie, is that this is one primary difference I think that a lot of people should pay attention to. is that the people that we're talking about a democratic socialist revolution or a democratic political revolution with Bernie Sanders, these kinds of things, all these guys thought that they could do that within the Democratic Party. And so a socialist, if you ask a capitalist socialist or socialist what the main thing about socialism is, they will almost always to a person say economic democracy. They will almost always to a person say socialize the means of production. It doesn't matter if you're a Marxist, non-Marxist, everyone, myself included, will say that is the thing that unites socialists. I didn't hear Bernie Sanders one time saying we need to socialize the medical industry. Not one single time. He would talk about healthcare for all. He'd talk about, Medicare for all of these other plans and everything like that, kind of catchy. Never once described public ownership of healthcare, of the provision of healthcare that would guarantee that every single person not had access to healthcare, but had actual healthcare. Not once did he mention that. Not once did he talk about undoing the Democratic Party to allow people to actually determine who their leaders are, rather than just accepting the pile of garbage that was given to them by the Democratic Party leadership. Not one single time did he talk about nationalizing the energy sector in our country to make sure that we could have ecologically friendly production of energy that we need. Not one time did he talk about socializing or democratizing or nationalizing any of these major sectors of the commanding heights, or even any of the smaller sectors of the means of production in this country. So I have to ask the people who were on Bernie Sanders's socialism, how socialist is a socialist that doesn't talk about socializing the means of production? You know what I'm saying? Like, he was always going to be with the Democratic Party. They underlined, AOC is the same way. They underlined the Democratic part of democratic socialism, but not the socialist part. Because what have they come up with that has been one iota socialism? They have been talking about doing it within the Democratic Party. And you saw that when AOC got to, I'm not going to run her down. I think she's, doing whatever. She's a Democrat. And she proved that she's a Democrat by repeatedly voting for Nancy Pelosi, one of the biggest neoliberals, pro-warmonger, I support the war in Ukraine. I call it Slava Ukraini, from the floor of the House of Representatives. She's a Democrat. She's not a socialist. She may call herself a democratic socialist, but what she's really talking about is social democracy. And what we're really talking about is socialism. I think that's really important. That's an important distinction that needs to be made. What members of the Socialist Party are talking about, what other socialist organizations on the left are talking about, is socialism. What the DSA folks, whatever they're talking about is social democracy, which is really different. And that's what you might call welfare statism. And a lot of people like that. They talk about Nordic socialism, where the state has a large role. But we don't really think about Sweden as a capitalist country. Sweden is one of the most capitalist countries in all of Europe. They have the least regulations and restrictions on the private sector in their country. And the whole idea is they take taxes to fund welfare programs. I don't know how that's socialist, because the people themselves don't actually own the means of production. And that's the basic floor. That's the basic dividing line between socialism and social democracy. We're on the side of socialism. At the end of the day, we're always going to be working and talking about working people. We're always going to be talking about the poor. We're always going to be talking about how to get workers' organizations together, how to get those organizations power over the places that they work, how to get them power over the conditions that they live in, how to make lives better by the people themselves getting together and doing it, and not relying on some elite group of people, not relying on the Democratic Party, not relying on our governors or our masters in Washington, D.C. or in our state houses, but us doing it together. I think this is what socialism is. I think that's a very important distinction that needs to be made, and I think that's one we're going to pound on repeatedly on this campaign, over and over and over again. We're not talking about social democracy. We're talking about socialism. Socializing the means of production, socializing the various social institutions in our society, and getting the people in control of their own lives.
Exactly. It is economic democracy. And I don't want to go too hard on Bernie supporters and DSA, because everyone has to start somewhere. And it is very hard to educate on what socialism is when everything around you is lying to you. And if I can just speak as myself and not a candidate or a party member, one of my reasons for rejecting the Scandinavian model is that it's built on the exploitation of the global south. It only works in wealthy countries. It's not a solution. And honestly, I don't think anyone in the party would have a problem with me saying that. I just don't want to. I don't think it's directly in the platform. So they don't want to end capitalist exploitation. They just, want that nicer life. And if people far away suffer for it, they can, I guess they can live with that. I can't live with that. One thing I wanted to share about, it just kind of shows how far we've come from Americans understanding what socialism is, which I think is one of the main reasons we don't have a major socialist party in the US right now. This is a quote from Harry Truman, of all people, in 1952. This is what he said on socialism. Socialism is a scare word they have hurled at every advance that people have made in the last 20 years. Socialism is what they called public power. Socialism is what they called the growth of the free and independent labor organizations. Socialism is a name for almost anything that helps all the people. And for once, I actually agree with Harry Truman. Socialism is what helps the people. That's what we do, and that's why we do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just like capitalism is a system that's by and for the interests of capital, socialism is a system that's by and for the interests of society. That's right in the word. Society does it. It's not a group of elites that are taking control and running everything. It's not people that think that they know better than everybody else. We got to ask people what they want, and they got to go out and get it. That's what socialism is. And we got to, our job as candidates, and I think also as a party, and this is me speaking personally, is that our job is to clear out the roadblocks that are in the way of the advancement of the people. That's what we do. We don't tell the people where they need to go. We clear out the roadblocks that are standing in their way, because they're in the process of advancing. They're in the process, ideally, of figuring things out for themselves, figuring out where they want to go as a society. Our job is to get rid of the things that are in their way and stopping them from advancing as a whole society, and making their future as a society in their interest and for their benefit, rather than a small group of people benefiting at the expense of everybody else. The idea is that everybody benefits.
Yeah, and we want to build. Go ahead, Willie.
Oh, I was just going to touch on both Bill's points and Stephanie's points that I think that perhaps social democracy, and I used to be a high proponent of social democracy years ago. I'm not going to say that it's a terrible thing, but we need to go beyond it. And DSA misses the points. This is why I don't particularly rely against them, but I just think that they missed the point. And I am slightly negative on DSA when people like AOC, votes to go and butt a rail strike, for example. But I think that basically you need to move beyond the welfare state. The welfare state is a great start, but you have to move beyond it. I think that maybe the one country or the one society that has kind of achieved that more than anything else might have been Yugoslavia under Field Marshal Tito. I kind of look at that as kind of a model to go by. And I think that Tito, the fact that a lot of people on the left here in the United States have read too much on Tito, but I think that what he achieved was a very good society, and unfortunately, when he died, the experiment in Yugoslavia died. But they achieved kind of a decentralized public ownership of the means of production, and the standard of living was pretty high for the people, and they have a foreign policy that was non-aggressive with anybody around the world. They were pretty open for pretty much with every country around the world. So I develop a fondness for the Field Marshal Tito's government as kind of my model for democratic socialism.
Yeah, and one of the things that separates us from the capitalist is we want a system based on solidarity and empowerment of the working class, whereas our whole economic system is based on one of the seven deadly sins, avarice, right? Like, it's non-tenable. I mean, greed isn't something that's going to ensure that everyone's fed, that ensures that our education is high. Greed isn't going to do any of that. It's just going to make a few very, very wealthy people that are just as ignorant as everybody else, controlling everything to their benefit and their whims. All the wars that we're having now isn't because there's a whole lot of people that are clutching their hearts about what fascist governments are doing to each other, or they certainly don't care about all the children that are getting killed right now as we speak. They're thinking about the dollar signs. They're thinking about how much money they've invested in the defense industry that is just getting checks handed to them by the federal government, which is coming from us. That's our tax money that's doing it. It's not like Elon Musk is taking out his checkbook and writing a big check, or Zuckerberg or anybody, and giving it to them. They are doing it as representative of us, right? So we are colored by what happens in our government. And if we continue to vote for the lesser of evil, if we as a society say that this one awful person is slightly less bad than this other awful person, then we're just going to get awful people. And we've got to break that chain. If we don't break that chain, then we are always going to end up voting for evil, and we're always going to be represented from evil. And every bomb that is dropping on those children over there has a note from you and me and everybody on this call in the United States saying, we did that because our government are the ones that are funding those bombs that are dropping. And until we get into such a place that we can say we need to be brave and we need to break apart from this capitalist infrastructure and actually go on a new level and in a new direction in order to make this a better world, not just for us personally, but for everybody in the world, because we can do that. I mean, the reason that humanity did not go extinct early on was because we worked together. And they have spent the last decades and decades teaching us that we should only look out for ourselves. And as long as we look out for ourselves, everything's fine. Because you've got to do you've got to do the side hustle, you've got to do this, that, and the other. But you don't have to do that. That's bullshit. The reason we survived as a species is because we showed solidarity. And they've been trying to get that out of us through our education system, through all those crazy books that Gen X, that are the parents of the Gen Xers read about how to discipline your kids and all that other stuff, are trying to get the innate solidarity amongst the human people out of there. And they've done a good job of it. So I think it's really, really important that we take that step away and not hold our nose and vote for the slightly less shitty candidate and vote for somebody that, regardless of whether we think that we win, we might not win today, but if we continue doing that, we'll move the needle, and eventually we will win. But we're never going to win if we keep copping out at the last minute, holding our nose and putting a check beside somebody's name that is an evil bourgeois oppressor. And I'm going to stop talking. I'm sorry. Off the box.
Oh, well said, Josh.
Yeah, I said that 2020 was a choice between eating rat poison and eating Drano. You get to pick whichever poison tastes the best to you, I guess. But you're still eating something that's going to eventually kill you. And I think that people said, well, he's not Trump or whatever. Biden is not Trump. I said, well, if that's all you want out of a candidate, that's all you're going to get. He literally is doing the same things that Trump promised he would do in 2020, but Trump didn't get elected, so Biden went ahead and did them. Let's take a look at the border, for example. We got leftists that are upset about the border. Well, he suspended 35 different federal laws and regulations, including environmental protection laws, to build that stupid little bit of wall down there because he said the law required him to do it. So he suspended 35 laws so that he could follow one law. And I don't understand like what the thought process behind it, but he was, at the end of the day, more successful at building the wall than Trump was. You still got people who are down there on the border in cages that our government is now deporting back to foreign countries where they're going to get shot and killed by gangs. And that's because our government lacks any kind of imagination on what to do about the situation with immigration in this country. We don't have one foreign war in Afghanistan now. We have two foreign wars, one in Ukraine and one in Israel that we're responsible for. So we have more war under Biden than we did under Trump. And this is not an advertisement for Trump, by the way. I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying that Trump would have been better. I'm just saying that Biden, the only thing people asked of Biden was that his name was not Donald J. Trump. And he's like, hey, I got that in spades. And they're like, fine, we're going to vote for you. And that's exactly what they got. They got a continuation, almost a seamless continuation of the policy of the Trump administration in the Biden administration, except for Biden likes to put a little rainbow flag on his policies now. There's the meme where they got the bomb with, like, the bomb is falling, but the Democratic bomb has a Black Lives Matter sticker on it. And that's really the only difference between the policies of the domestic and the foreign policies of Trump and Biden is that, I mean, what do they say? Elect Biden and we protect Roe versus Wade. The Democrats couldn't even do that. They couldn't even do that. That was like one of the first things that fell after Biden got elected. And so, I mean, it was worthless. What's the point? You have to get a real, serious alternative in there that's talking to people about policies that they want. Talking to people about policies that will actually make a difference in their lives. If you come up to them and say, well, my name's not Donald Trump, still vote for me. I mean, how is that inspiring to anybody? What we need to talk about is, okay, let's talk about how we bring inflation under control and bring your wages up so you can actually live a decent life. Let's talk about people who are underemployed saying, let's get you in the job that you're qualified for and that you're suited for so you can actually make something out of your life and actually do something. I think that people in this country want jobs that mean something. They don't want to be worked into the ground. They want to have a future. And if you ask the average common man, do you want to own the means of production? I'm guessing that the average man will say no, but I want dignity in my job. And I think the socialists will offer something like that. When you say, oh, join a union, we need to get union protection. We need to get rid of a lot of these stupid right to work laws that are in these states right now that break unions. We need to fight for environmental protection so that not only you have clean air, but your kids have clean air and water to drink. So we're not completely totally destroying the planet for the sake of capitalist profit. That's what the socialists bring to the table. Where's that on the Democratic Party's platform? Where is that on the Republican Party's platform? There's no alternative between those two. They're just like, we want more of Trump. We want less of Trump. That's what they're arguing about right now. And so that's our position. That's our role, is to come in and provide this alternative that actually seeks to empower the people that we're asking for votes from. Not just asking for votes, not just say you have a responsibility that ends on next election day, but we have a responsibility to build something in this country that can carry on long after, even, let's just say probably the truth, we might lose the election. Long after we lose the election next year, the organizational capacity brings these things into the common vernacular, that people are using these terms. They're talking about workers' democracy. They're talking about owning the means of production. They're talking about socializing the various institutions in their lives right now. We want to start those discussions, and we want to start building the Socialist Party, because I think the Socialist Party is in a really good position to actually go out there to people and actually show them, look, there's a way to imagine a better future. There's a way to think of a better future. We can't see it right now. When we look at the TV, all we see is war, death, and destruction, and people fighting. We can't see that now, but we can start imagining what it would be. And if people can imagine what it could be, they can start moving toward that thing. And every single step they take toward that new future is a step away from where we're at right now, where things are all screwed up, where you walk around outside and you look up in the air and you know that something's wrong. You know that things aren't the way they're supposed to be. And you know that there has to be a way to get to a place where my budget makes sense, because I get like a $10,000 raise this year or whatever, and I'm still just as poor as I was before, because I may get a 5% raise this year, but I got a 7% increase in my food costs, and I got an 8% increase in my gasoline costs, and I got a 12% increase in my utility costs. And every single time you get more money, there's someone there with their hand there. We got to get away from that system. We got to get to a system where people actually have the opportunity to have the kind of life that they want to live, the kind of life that is in peace, the kind of life that exists in a clean environment. And that's, I think, where we can actually do something for people.
If I could add to that, I want to stress that we understand that we are not likely to get this by voting. We are under no illusions that the people in power would allow that to happen.
That's
they
right.
only allow democracy as long as it suits them and as long as it keeps them in power. But this is a strategy. This is a tool. This is a way to improve the material conditions of working people, the way to spread class consciousness. We realize that what we're saying is very pie in the sky, not so much because it's unattainable, but it's not something that they would just allow to happen. That's not how power works. People don't just give up power because
Right.
politics. But and even let's give Democrats everything, like every concession, and say that they win all the elections. Everyone who's elected is a Democrat, and they get to pass all of their legislation and have the world that their platform talks about. That's this world, What has stopped them has not been just the Republicans. It's their unwillingness to do anything when they do have power. What you get with the Democrats is the status quo. They are not the change candidates. They are not the revolution candidates or whatever they say. They are, the career politicians that serve the owning classes, and they have to. If you're a Democrat, you could be a wonderful person. You have to, because that's the only way you're going to get elected. It's the only way you're going to get your campaign funded. So, we are realistic about where we are, how we're going to get there. And I'm just saying, if you share these goals, and I don't see how you could be a working class person. And that doesn't mean you have a job. You can be a working class person in many ways. If you are, I don't see how you couldn't support this. And really, I think one of the main places we should be growing right now is rural America, because in places like North Carolina, it was these people that struck to have the basic rights we have, like weekends and an 8-hour workday and a safe work environment, and they're just kowtowing to police and all these oppressive forces. It's really sad, and I wish I knew the magic bullet to get across to people that are suffering most in the U.S. that we do have solutions. I understand why they would not trust us. They have never seen the system work for them. But I would just beg them that we have never been part of that system. We've never benefited from it, and that system is always trying to destroy us. And if we were to get powerful enough, I know that they would try to destroy us with violence, honestly. And that's what you risk. But please just give us a chance. We know capitalism will fail. We know this system is not sustainable. What we don't know is if it's going to take humanity with it. That's the choice we have right now.
And can I comment as well? I just want to say too that we also understand that our system is the American system is based on genocide and slavery and oppression generally, right? If you took a bunch of committed socialists and didn't change anything in the structure of how we run our country, you would get the status quo, because the system is set up as an oppressive tool to keep the workers in line and to keep people that the wealthy don't want in line. It's got to be taken apart, right? It's got to be the workers need to unite to rise up to take the power, because if you just won elections, if there was ever a universe where anyone left of hunting the poor for sport could actually get elected to and control the government, the way the structures are in place, it is still a genocidal, a slavocracy. It was based on those things, and it was not designed to maintain those things. So not only do we have to build working class power and accept the fact that they're not going to hand power irregularly, but when we get what power we get, we use it to point out the contradictions of the way that not only the people that are doing it, but the structures that are in place to hold people back. But we also start to dismantle that because the system itself is racist. The system itself is oppressive. So not only do we need to unite ourselves to resist this oppressive system, we need to ensure that we disassemble it to the point to where we can put better structures in place, because we absolutely don't want to continue along the same lines. And the way the government is structured now, there are not tools to do what we need to do. So whatever power at whatever point, when we get a majority that can do it, we need to take it, and we need to make sure that we dismantle all the inherent racism and all the inherent imperialism and all the inherent genocidal nature. And we need to certainly not base our economic system on avarice or any other deadly sin. I mean, sloth maybe, but I don't know if that would work.
Lust.
It's growth. We can call it growth. That sounds better. It's all about marketing.
Yes. We are. It's 6:59 right now, so we're gonna have to wrap this up because I work graveyard shift. So, do we have any final words?
Yes, I want to say something. I think that early on in the campaign, we got a really long campaign process. So we're looking for people that can help us get ballot access. If you think that you got those kind of skills that can look in, we got a ballot access guy. We can work with you on this. We're going to be putting resources on our website once we get that off the ground that will help you not only organize within your own state, but it'll offer you tips on helping get Socialist Party locals together, getting at-large Socialist Party members active, and also getting ballot access within your state. The more ballots that we can appear on in this country, even if we don't get a whole lot of votes from them, we'll get some votes, and we'll be able to make the case at that point that there is at least some interest in what the Socialist Party is doing. We'll have the ability then to organize with the party for not only just this campaign, but also for the next campaign. And we'll be able to, the stronger organization we're able to put together out of a presidential campaign, the more down ballot races we can focus on, because we have locals in areas now that can identify and run candidates. And so that's a really key tactical part of our campaign. Whatever our campaign promises, happen to be, it's all a dream, but we can actually do organizational stuff with this campaign, that we can actually build this party into a larger movement that can actually make a change at the state, local, and county level, even if we can't get into the White House. That's really the last thing I'll say.
Yes, I don't know if we can get the website up. I just wanted to add, so when I started with the party, when I was a teenager, I didn't have much going for me in my life. I had a middle school education. I was unemployed. I was living in my car, and one reason I got involved in the Socialist Party is because these are the first people that spoke to what I was suffering. And many years later, it honestly helped me develop into a better person, and just to have that structure of knowing there is something you can do about all these problems that you're facing, rather than just giving into despair. So if you I don't care if you haven't read Capital, you should, but if you haven't, that's fine. You can join our campaign. You can learn as you go. We need you. If you care about the working class, if you want to make things better, if you're angry at the people that are turning our world into what it is, I guess, and
toxic waste dump.
Yeah, I wanted to say something, but I didn't want to swear, so I kind of was stumbling there. I don't know. I didn't ask if we could swear. Check out Stodden 2024.
Oh, we can swear. Go ahead.
We're at it, even after the campaign.
Yeah. We're swearing is okay.
Okay. Go ahead, Steph.
Are you gonna swear,
Josh?
Steph? Hey, comrade. I just want to thank everybody that's watching us. again, I'm not much of a much personally, but next year, if you live in Raleigh, North Carolina, I will be running at large city council again. BradleyForLAWorkers.com, the website, the old website's still up. And thank you, Willie, for having us on. It was it was a pleasure to see you again, always, and keep us in the loop and keep us up to date. And again, thanks, comrade. A better world is possible, and it's going to take a revolution, but I think eventually we'll get it done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And everyone, socialistparty.net. I have it's on the description box below. You can find out the information about the Socialist Party USA, and you can find William P. Stodden and Stephanie Cholensky on Facebook, and the Socialist Party USA is on Twitter. So I don't call it X. The hell with Elon Musk. Fuck Elon Musk. It's Twitter as far as I'm concerned. So anyway, yes, Socialist Party is very close to me. When years ago, I was going through a rough time, so I took a break from the Socialist Party, but I had to realize that certain things where I was at odds with the Socialist Party, they were correct. I was wrong. I just wanted to say that now. And I'll be glad to do what I can to help with the campaign, Josh. If you need any help with signatures, you got my number. So,
Awesome.
And I thank you both, William. I thank you both, William, Stephanie, for showing up here on Bragglands. And I wish you both luck on this campaign. And I hope to see you all again soon. If you ever want to come back on this program, please. Huh?
You have to come to the election night party.
What? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
You have to come to the election night party. Next year.
Well, you mean like?
Yeah.
I'll see what I can do. Honestly, I'll see what I can do.
In North Carolina, so it shouldn't be too hard. Assuming Joshua is going to host it.
Well, it's really funny you said that, because David McGrinnell said this when he was alive, that whenever we get to talk about socialism to the media, we do win, because it is something that the media likes to keep buried. Even the milquetoast message that Bernie Sanders was providing the last decade, the media was pissed off about this. I mean, they didn't want they don't want to even have that discussed. I mean, they don't. I mean, they just want to keep the status quo going. So I mean, we have a lot of work to do in this country, and we need to go beyond. We need to go beyond Bernie Sanders, and we need to ask for the quote unquote goddamn revolution. I think that's what Jack Reed said, or at least that's what Warren Beatty's character Jack Reed said in the movie Reds.
It might be
Reds with Warren Beatty.
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, it was a love story.
Yeah. What?
I say it was a love story.
Still a great movie. I still watch it occasionally. Yeah.
Right on.
But anyway, I do thank you all three for showing up on the show. Great panel and everything, and again, once again, I have to go to work, so I will talk to you all later. And to everybody here that showed up, thank you for showing up. Everyone, be sure to watch The Secret Show tomorrow night at midnight. Extra Bull, Warren's on the chat line here, so check his channel out at youtube.com / at Extra Bull. You won't be sorry for The Secret Show. You guys check out The Secret Show. I'm telling you, y'all will like The Secret Show. So anyway,
on.
I'm going to sign off now. So y'all take care and see y'all soon.
Have a good night.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Are we out?
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks, Willie.